Welcome to Silverburn. What you can see behind me is one of Scotland's biggest indoor shopping centres. But we're not here for that today. If you peel away Silverburn, my first job was inside this building. And if you peel it away a little bit more, my secondary school was inside this building. Now if you peel away Silverburn a little bit more, just a little bit more, my first house as a child was inside this building. Now as the Spice Girls once said, who do you think you are? Everyone's got a story to tell. This is mine. In 2025, I realised that I'd been working for 40 years and my first job was inside this building. But what about life before I got a job? So this video today is a celebration of life before we start work. Where was my first house, my primary school, my secondary school, and my first bank, all within 1 mile radius of Silverburn. Being ordinary is wonderful. Let me show you some more. Now as you can see behind me, this is Scotland's biggest Tesco's. But right in the corner of where Tesco's is, I used to live there. That was my very first house as a child, right where Tesco's is. Now the housing estate got demolished in the late 1970s. It was then replaced by the Pollok Centre, which then got demolished and got replaced by Silverburn. Now right about here, this is where my house was. But as it all got knocked down, there's nothing to see. So there's 3 houses I lived in when I was a child. First one being demolished. The next one we moved to, I was about 7 years old. I was possibly in primary 1 or primary 2. So I'm now going to run the Housemuir Crescent. In my primary school, it's just down here. My favourite memory of primary school was every day I would leave my house and every day my mum would wave all the way to primary school I'd always check and I'd always look back. I should always wave till I couldn't see her any further. Thanks, Mum. Thank you. But it's good to look back. It's good to look back on the past. It helps you remember who you are and who you are now. Life keeps going. So that was my old primary school. It's now houses. See the fence that's there, just behind me? That was my nana's house, but it's not there anymore. So it was literally 50 yards from the primary school. And sometimes we go there for lunch. So let's go and try and find my secondary school. And that's what I mean by the next generation would never have known that a primary school was here. House was right there. This is just their life. Let's go. So my house was just along there. And Mum would wave me to school. Primary school was just along here, but it's now houses. And my secondary school, well, that's now Silverburn Shopping Centre. Each generation claims the area as its own. They probably never knew my primary school was here, or that my nana's house was just round the corner. Let's go and find any traces of my secondary school. Now just behind me was my secondary school. It's now part of Silverburn. There's a fence just behind me too. The fence wasn't here, but it's just over the fence. That's what I'm trying to go to. So this was my old primary school, and just to the left was my secondary school. Both been demolished, and I have checked. There's no blue plaque to say that Frank went to primary school here or Frank went to secondary school just there. So I'll just have to make one. Now when school finished, you had to leave through the school gates. And that for us was a long way for a shortcut. So during our summer holidays, we built a dam here. It doesn't seem that exciting, but during the summer we had shovels, with grass. This became a fantastic shortcut. It's about 4 feet wide and you could walk across it. So that's my love of dams came from. Not engineering or anything, just my ability to put things in the water so people can cross over and save that long way through the school gates. Now as you're looking at Silverburn, you're thinking, how does Silverburn get its name? Well, there's a small burn that runs alongside it. So that's the burn part. And the silver, well, that was for all the shopping trolleys that were found in the burn. So it became Silverburn. Now just across from Silverburn is a TSB bank. Now TSB has long since closed, but this was my first bank, and when I joined I didn't get a bank card, I got a bank book. Now when I put in some money I would wait in the queue, I'd fill out the slip and present my bank book. And I thought, when we go on holiday, anyone needs any money, there's a TSB in Rossi. I can withdraw money, I can help us out. The only problem was Johnny's Amusements. They had a new machine there, and it was called Play Your Cards Right. A very simple idea. There was 5 cards, guess higher or lower, and if you get them all right in sequence, you win money. I was a very young, confident young man. I believed I knew what I was doing. You would get to the last card, everything going pretty well, and the last card would be a 4. Higher, lower than a 4? You guessed it. It was a 2. So I never gave anyone any money, apart from Johnny's Amusements. Now, there was no plaque to say that Frank first joined the TSB here, but more consolation is, in Rossi, there's a Montague Street, so at least there's a silver lining. So what you can see behind me is Silverburn. Now I can trace my connection to Silverburn, my first family house, my secondary school, and also my first job, and that was in 1985. Now in the 80s, getting a job after school was quite difficult. And one of the ways you can get a little step up the ladder was to join a YTS scheme. Now this was a government backed youth training scheme, and you were paid £27.50, and you felt that was a lot of money. So began life a YTS scheme. And then most times at the end of the YTS scheme, you kind of get let go. We'd love to keep you on. I was very fortunate. There was a full-time position as a trolley boy. I loved that job. I'd be at the Pollok Centre, 5 minutes from my house. I'd be out collecting trolleys all day. And that's how I began. From YTS to a trolley boy. And then once I'd finished being a trolley boy, I'd got offered a job as a management trainee. Now it began middle of 1985, but by January 1987, the Prestos in the Pollok Centre had closed. Now at that point, a lot of people got transferred, including myself. And then a couple of years later, Prestos got sold to Safeway. And a lot of the Safeway buildings, old Presto buildings, are now Morrison's. Now this car park, this was Bellamine's sports field where we go running and try and play football. But if you look as far as I can see, just where the big boots and neck sign was, that was the second exit or entrance to the Pollok Centre. And that had special significance in my family, because every Thursday night my dad would finish work, he would meet us at the back entrance of the Pollok Centre. Now it happened to be that Thursday was the day my dad got paid. He'd always make sure that my mum had some nice matchmakers. But he'd always buy us like a Mars bar, a real Mars bar, not like the ones you see now, but a real Mars bar, and we look forward to that every Thursday. But as I was saying earlier on, generations move on. To the next generation, this is just Silverburn car park. But to me, this is Bellarmine. It's a running track. Now my dad worked very hard, and my dad, to his credit, he walked every single day from these houses to Thornley Bank train station. It might not sound a lot, a good 5-6 miles every morning, every night after work. Then we get a train from Thornley Bank to East Kilbride. My dad would always come home late, about 7 o'clock, exhausted. And there was one morning I was up early with my dad. He always had the radio on quietly. There wasn't really breakfast television or anything like that then. I remember that he listened to Radio Clyde It was only Radio Clyde. It wasn't Clyde 1 and Clyde 2. It was just Radio Clyde. And my dad fell asleep because he was just so tired. And a few months ago I told my dad that story. Remember, Dad, the time I was up really early and you were going to work, it must have been about 6:30 in the morning, and you fell asleep, and I woke you up and said, Dad, you have to wake up for work. My dad being my dad remembered that story. So we had some great times in these streets, just playing football or playing tig. Some really strange things, like when the tar was put down on the summer and it would bubble up, you try and make some bubbles out of tar. Or even random things like non-PC, like maybe try to catch bees with jars and glass bottles. Just things that little ones do to pass the time. So I would go wandering with a couple of friends to my two favourite places. I think I got walking from my dad. My dad walks everywhere, still does. My favourite two places would be Pollock Park and the dams at Barrhead. So let's go there. Welcome to Pollock Park. Welcome to the Borough Collection. This was opened in 1983, and in 2023 it was named Museum of the Year. Inside the Borough Collection holds art from the Borough family. The Borough Collection really does have a story to tell. But let's go and find Pollock House. Now this story, it's a very simple story. It's about being young and the adventures you had before life takes over. And don't we all have stories like that? Where we went with our mum or our sister and visited an old farm we lived. Recalled tales of grandparents driving tractors, or reminisced about uncles we've loved, friends we've had, and just being ordinary. How wonderful is that? How beautiful is Pollok Park? And Pollok House. So welcome everyone to Pollok House. Pollok House was built in 1752, but was gifted to the city of Glasgow in 1966. Welcome everyone to Pollok House. The Pollok House is currently closed for a 2-year renovation. I'm not too sure how much you can see behind me, with my eyes, as always, kind of half shut. Let me spin you around. As I was mentioning earlier on, this video is about a celebration of all generations, and how when I was younger I would walk to here, just past Silverburn. I'd walk to Pollok House and Pollok Park, and but nobody here. And now, fantastically, it's full of tourists. So let's be honest, it's an absolutely beautiful afternoon. But whenever you're watching this, wherever you're watching this, were you really expecting this? It's absolutely beautiful. And this is the entrance to Pollok House. Obviously it's very quiet due to the work being carried out just now. It used to be free to enter Pollok House. I think it's a small charge now. There's also a cafeteria inside. Once it's opened, I would thoroughly recommend a couple of hours in Pollok House, just next to the Borough collection. So that's Pollok House in all its glory. Now normally when you're a lot younger, you kind of run around fancy mansions like Pollok House. And what you're really looking for is trees to climb, chestnuts to find, and lots of hills to run up and down. It's an absolutely wonderful day. It's a good day to be out running. And what I loved about Pollok Park and Pollok House, there's just so many different directions you can go in. Maybe that's where I got my sense of adventure from. Sometimes you just follow paths and you hope you're going the right way. There's a really beautiful ornament here. Sadly, the path has stopped. Shall I go left? Shall I go right? Let's go right. We're heading down hopefully to the working mill in Pollok Park, and next to the working mill there's a really beautiful waterfall, so let's go check that out. How lovely is this on a beautiful Saturday afternoon? Let's head down this way. I'm not too sure what this is, to be honest, but I think by the looks of it, it's maybe crazy golf for elves. Or fairies. So lovely. There's also a little sign here that reads Pollok Country Park, Glasgow, first place, Britain's best park, 2007. I can see why. It just keeps getting better and better. Ta-da! So yes, this is Pollok Park. I would spend hours just wandering through, finding new bits, wandering to the police dog training academy, looking at the waterfall, or just wandering through the park. Beautiful bridge leading on to Pollok House. If you just turn to your right, a working mill and a waterfall. There used to be a swing, I hear you sighing already, over the waterfall. I'll just go and have a little look. So I'm very happy to report that there's no swing. The mill is currently closed. It's undergoing renovation. There's a path along the waterfall. I never wanted to cross it. I was always too scared. You can be too old for a lot of things, but you can never be too old to be scared. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing Pollok House and Pollok Park. So many little paths, so many adventures. Young Frank, you really enjoyed yourself. And now I'm going to show you my other favourite place, which is in the wrong direction from here. Barrhead Dams. And before we get to Barrhead Dams, we'll have a quick history lesson. Let's start running. Now, according to legend, Mary Queen of Scots and Lord Darnley sat below this sycamore tree, and they lived in Crookston Castle, which is just next door to where my dad stays. Now, their son was King of Scotland and also James I of England. I forgot how hilly getting to Barrhead Dams is. Okay, nothing to see. Let's carry on. When you finally reach the top of the hill, this is the view that greets you. There's also a train viaduct. Let's run towards that. It's a very beautiful place to walk. Sometimes you're very lucky. You would see a train from Glasgow to, I think it's Barrhead. There's also a path closed. There's no public access across Orrs Road or onward to Barrhead Reservoir. Quite impressive, isn't it? If you're asking, Frank, are you waiting for a train to pass? Yes, I am. And then I realised I could have googled it. Note to self, Google things first. Still no train. So this will be a new road with the last of the dam just here, and just to the right is Barrhead. Let's head back down. What a wonderful way to finish the night. Now I was going to follow the path up to my left. There's a little road there and one more dam to see, but it's closed off. They're building a new road and probably new houses. So let me give you a quote from myself, sounding very old. I knew this place when it was all just fields. So this has been a celebration of a very ordinary life. But being ordinary is wonderful. We've all got friends, we've all got families, we've all got a story to tell. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. And I'll see you again.